Allô, allô, allô. Allô, allô, allô. Allô, allô, allô.
Merci. Reminder that this meeting is also presented.
Cette réunion est présentée aussi sur YouTube.
Premier item, est-ce qu'il y a des conflits d'intérêts?
First item, is there any conflict of interest? Six A and 6B for Mr. Arsenault. Are there any more conflict of interest? Thank you. Are there anyone who would like to add items to the agenda? I would need someone to move the adoption of the agenda, Mr. Bell. Seconded by Mrs. Murphy. All those signify by saying aye. Against nay. Motion carried. Thank you. The second one is the adoption of the minutes. Anyone would like to make any modifications to the minutes? Mr. Boudreau. Mr. Bell is seconding. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Against nay. Adopted. Next item is 6A. Mr. Arsenault has to excuse himself. Yeah, he has to get out because it's a conflict of interest for him. 6A, first item. Denis Arsenault on Oak Street in Shediac. Thank you, members of the committee. So this evening, my item is for an accessory building, which is a detached garage, and the request it's a various request to increase like the maximum height allowed, and also to increase the maximum area. This property is on Oak Street. It's in the west sector of the town of Shediac, and from Oak Street to Cornwall goes branch off from Cornwall. So the property is highlighted in red. So on east side you can see a Squiddock River. So it is a riverside lot, and usually it's at proximity of a water course. There are some requirements like for construction between 30 meters. So they got a permission from the Department of Environment. So the zoning for this property, it's a zone R1, and zone R1 allows like a single family unit, so it does not allow for more than one unit on the property. And before it was zone for high density, but a few years ago they asked for rezoning to rezone like the property to R1. Just to tell you, like there was a plan that was done, and the commission. So the lot was not registered, from what I heard. So it was sent to the registering office, and they have a backlog on their side. So it will take a few weeks before the lot is created. It's just to note, like I mentioned, the property, the whole property, but it's the lot 21-22. And this lot is about 7 square meters. It's more than 1 acre. And just to note, like R1 is 540 square meters, so the lot is almost 13 times higher than what we see from a residential lot. So Mr. Arsenault's request, it's a house plus a garage. On the left side you see the house, and it's about 4,000 square feet, just a little bit below. And the house is about 30 feet high, and the garage is about 24 square feet, and the same height at 30 feet. This is just like a localization plan. So you see, like the house is closer, 100 is closer than 100 meters from a water course, but they did get like an approval from the Department of Environment to put the building there. Please note, like the house is follows like the zoning regulation of the town of Shediac. So the only thing is the detached garage. This discussed today. So the detached garage is not closer to the street than the house is. So there are no requirement for a variance request. And the setback at the west side is 6 meters. Usually it would be 1 meter. So it's almost 6 times farther than what's required. So the first one for the first variance is to increase the maximum height allowed. So usually it's 5 meters, and it's about 16.4 feet, but the proposed height would be 30 feet. So it's like 15 meters. So the variance is quite important. It's almost twice this what's allowed. Uh, that's what allowed in the bylaw. So the second variance is for the area, so the size of the building. So we see like what the applicant wants to do with the garage. He wants to use to store like cars and a boat. And there will be also a second floor. And it's about the walls are about 13 feet high. So usually the maximum area is about 900 square feet, 84 meters. This one is 22,300 square feet is what's being proposed. So it's about 220 meters. It's the equivalent of an increase of twice of what's required. So 262% of more. So that's a second variant request. So the one for the area. So this one here, it's some photos I took today, so just to show the site. So we're looking like Cornwall, like the apartment building. So it it's a vacant property, and then it goes to Scooduk River. So we see like the property. So as a consultation, well, I consulted with the municipality and I received like comments from Public Works, from the Director of Public Works. So there was no comment for the request. And also I consulted with the Shediac and Surroundings Water and Sewage Committee. So what they say, it will need a pump like for the house compared to the garage. We send notice to homeowners like in a radius of 60 meters. So there was only a few, I got a few calls, but only one person wanted to leave an official comment. I received an email today, and the calls I received were, it was some person did would not object, but they had some hesitation. What other person said, well, they didn't have any problem with it. So, but the only person who really submitted comments, it's a guy from Fernando Boudreau, and he sent me an email today, and he just asked me to read this email at the meeting. So I will read this email. I will read it. Fernando Boudreau. Here are my comments on this file. By studying like the documents and all the, I agree like with the conclusion from the planning department. So the two variance requests, either the height or the maximum area. And also, like the planner, Mr. Philippe Robichaud, confirms that even in the R3 zone, like the requirements for height and the area of a building are the same as a residential R1. So it would be a dangerous precedent, like to allow like a residential area, like an accessory building higher than 5 meters, and with an area bigger than 84 meters. So this being said, uh, we want to welcome like the Arsenault family in our neighborhood. So just to summarize our presentations, so invariance usually is for minor things that do not change, like the intent or the of the bylaw. So usually some properties they're either like a weird shape, or and someone wants to match like the the, the roof of his garage to his roof of his house. So the variance is mostly for this request, but not for things like significant. So we're almost at twice the size of what's allowed. So the intent, like to get a garage of this size, to make sure like the property remains residential. Usually it's aesthetic, and also to be more, so it's more homogeneous in the character, so it's more similar than the other properties. If it was the wish of the board to only have like one size of a garage compared to the property, so the bylaw could have been written like that. But so in a, so the garage, like in those zone, like a rural zoning, they're allowed to be bigger, like a size equivalent almost to the size of the house. So if it was like the wish of the board, so the bylaw could have been written this way. And finally, like to write the variance is quite significant. So us, like unfortunately, we did not made a positive recommendation on this one. I will read like the two motions. Like the first one is for the height, so that the request submitted by Denis Arsenault, like to increase the size of the building for an accessory building from 5 meters to 9 on Oak Street, and the 0084627 be denied because the request is not reasonable and does not follow. And the second one, to increase the maximum surface area of an accessory building in order to increase like the maximum surface of an accessory building to 220 meters on Oak Street and on PID 0084267 be denied because the request is not reasonable and does not follow like the general intent of the bylaw. This concludes my presentation. Thank you. Any members of the committee who have questions? I have one question. Let's say the garage would be attached to the house, so they wouldn't need a variance. No. So there's no maximum for one for a garage attached to the building. So I would need a member of the public would like to talk. Yes, please get to the mic. Oh, can I sit there? Good evening. My name is Roserson. I'm the wife and the spouse of Denis who made the request. Thanks to give me the opportunity to present the arguments that support the requests in front of us. So the first argument, well, the raison d'être of a bigger garage for us, it's to store like the small collection of cars of my car, and it's also to store like ATV and also to store our boat. So that's why we are asking the height as mentioned. You can be reassured like the goal of this construction, it's not commercial in any way. It's really not in our intention. It will not be like a body shop or mechanic shop. It's simply like a uniquely like to store our goods. The garage, as you saw, it was designed like to complement the visual and aesthetic aspect and also functional of our house. In other words, like the style of the garage is the same style as the house. And is to mention also the garage door. They're uh, they're situated. We cannot see them like from Oak Street or Cornwall Street. As mentioned previously, you heard is our lot is quite big, close to 2 acres. So it represents 13 times like the size of the lot required to build like a residential property in Shediac. And we understand while there is a bylaw in the town like concerning the size of a detached garage on a regular size lot, but in our case, we think that's reasonable to take into consideration the size of the lot where will build our house. So the surface area occupied by the house and the garage together represent 6,200 square feet, and if we do the calculation, it represents only like 8.5% of the total surface of the lot, which is 74,084 square feet. And also the lot where we build our house is a little bit farther, is not visible Cornwall Street, and the other side it's blocked by the apartment building, which is on the corner of Oaks and Cornwall Street. We should not see a lot from the main road. And I would like to inform we already started to plant like over 20 trees on our property this year, and we will continue to think like to plant other major trees as our progress around the garage and the house and all over the property. So it creates a natural environment, a green environment on our large lot. So it's also private. So we already started this project this year and we will continue. So based on the arguments we have, we think like the request we are is reasonable because the density of the total size it's low. The detached garage, in our opinion, will complement our house really well, and it will be more attractive to have a detached garage compared to have this garage attached to the house. And we also notice, like just a quick overview, there are other similar variances that seem to be approved in the Shediac area. On the smaller lots, I mentioned like the 26 Bordeaux Street and 145 Casey Street. And us, we think like the visual aspect, it, it, it goes really well in our community. So these are the arguments that can support well the our project. Any question for Mrs.? The only question I had for the fact like that the garage is detached and it's mostly for aesthetic reason. It's aesthetic, so we wanted it to so it would look really nice like on our overall property. I have a question also for Mr. Robichaud. The two examples like I mentioned by Mrs. Like you know when it was the one on Casey Street. I think I know which one it is. I think it's I even found like the report also on working at this file. I think it was from the Beaubassin Planning Commission. So the request was very similar, to be honest, to this one, and the committee had approved like this request. Cannot remember like which year it was, but I think if I recall, it maybe 2010 was before. So the second one, Bordeaux, I'm not sure. Thank you. Any other members of the public would like to talk for or against this file? So you're good. Okay. So we're ready for a motion. So we have two variances. So we need a motion for the two or other motions. Mr. Boudreau, I would like to move that we approve variance number one and number two, due to the fact like the lot is not typical of what the ones we found in the city, and the footprint will not be to a point where it it will have an impact on the aesthetic of the region or the neighborhood. So we'll do the first variance, which is the height of the building from 5 meters to 15 meters. So you move that we accept like the variance to the for the height. So any questions on the motion? You might. So you accept what the committee is saying? No, I move that we approve the project. Thank you. You're good? No more questions? All those in favor saying aye. Mr. Boudreau. Seconded by Mr. Boudreau. Okay. All those in favor saying aye. Against nay. Motion carried. Again, oh, two yes and two nays. Would anyone want to make another motion for the height of the building? Do you want to move? I would like to move that the commission recommend. I would see, could easily see maybe a little bit higher. I find as presented by the commission, it's too high. I think we created a precedent. Questions on the motion? All those in favor saying aye. We need someone to second her, so so the motion cannot go forward. So in this case, so there's no decision. So we're going to the next variance. Would you like to move a motion once again? As we have a seconder, Mr. Bell. So this one is to clarify, is to increase. The second one is the surface area of the building. Yeah, it's not written properly. So it's the surface area for 220 square meters. So the motion was to increase like the maximum height, the first one. See, I made a mistake. So the second motion is to increase like the maximum surface area to 220 square feet. And I move that we approve to, moved by Mr. Bell. Question is to approve the 220 square meters. All those in favor say aye. Against? Adopted. Just to clarify, like the variance of 220 meters have been approved, but the one for the 50, there's no motion to approve it, so you're good? Okay. Next file. (6B), Mr. Christian Arsenault.
Oui, c'est celui-là aussi.
Oui,
Oui, tenir en conflit.
Conflit sur les deux?
Il fallait qu'il reste là-haut. Oui.
Pardon.
Restez
Non, il y a encore. Non, tu n'as pas. Sorry.
I messed around with this pretty delicate laptop. Let's see.
Oui. Oh.
Merci tout le monde. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good evening, everyone. So, as the chair mentioned, the next item on our agenda is a double variance request that was submitted by Christian Arsenault. So, the application that we have before us today is to construct an accessory building on the subject property. To facilitate the development as proposed, the applicant is requesting the following variances, and that is a variance to increase the maximum height of an accessory building from 5 meters to 5.4 meters, as well as a variance to increase the maximum surface area of that building from 84 square meters to 84.55 square meters. The subject property is known municipally as 117 Linden Lane, located within the Cornwall Borough. The lot is approximately 225 feet in width, 55 feet in depth, and today contains a 2-story single-unit dwelling, as well as 2 accessory buildings, as you see indicated here. Here are a few site photos that were taken of the property earlier this month. It is the applicant's intentions to remove the smaller accessory building, the shed, and replace it with a 26 by 35 square foot detached garage on the property. The garage will be meeting all the provisions set forth within the Town of Shediac zoning bylaw, with exception to the garage's height as well as its size. The first variance that we will address will be that of its height. So according to the Town of Shediac zoning bylaw, within the low-density residential zone, an accessory building is limited to a height of 5 meters. The purpose of the height requirement is really to ensure that the garage isn't converted to a secondary dwelling on the same property. In this case, the applicant is requesting a variance from the height requirement as a means to accommodate the size of the building as well as the truss system. So with that in mind, staff is confident, is in support of the height variance. The second variance that was requested is that to increase the surface area of the garage by 0.55 meters. The applicant is requesting permission to do so for a number of reasons. And having spoken to them, we're in support of this variance because it's quite minor in nature. It's only 0.55 square meters that they're asking for today, which is the equivalent to 6 square feet. The second is the maximum surface area is really to ensure that the garage maintains it's subordinate to the dwelling itself. In this case, the size of the garage will be smaller than the house, so staff is confident that the general intent of the zoning bylaw is met there. Thirdly, by placing the building on the property, we are increasing the lot coverage to 35%. The zoning bylaw permits a total lot coverage of 50%, so we don't anticipate any drainage issues when it comes from the subject property to neighboring properties. And finally, all the other requirements within the zoning bylaw are being met with exception to the height, which we spoke to. During this process, staff from the town of Shediac were consulted, more specifically the town's general manager, the director of municipal operations, as well as the Greater Shediac Sewerage Commission. No objections were received as it relates to this request. Also, on August 9th, the public notice was sent to property owners within a 60-meter radius of the subject property. Since that time, we've only received one email, which was in favor of this request. As you may know, you as the advisory committee have the right to approve or refuse a variance from the requirements of the zoning bylaw. If you are in the opinion that the request is desirable for the development of the land and is in keeping with the general intent of the municipal plan. With that, there are two motions that staff have prepared today. The first one being that the Shediac Planning Review and Adjustment Committee approves the variance request by Christian Arsenault to increase the maximum height of an accessory building from 5 meters to 5.4 meters for the property located on Linden Lane and known as PID 01098-128, as the request is minor in nature given the scale of the variance and is in general conformity with the regulation. And the second being that the Shediac Planning Review and Adjustment Committee approves the variance request by Christian Arsenault to increase the maximum surface area of an accessory building from 84 square meters to 84.55 square meters for the property located on Linden Lane and known as PID 0109-8128, as the request is minor in nature given the scale of the variance and is in general conformity with the regulation. With that, that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Does any member of the committee have any questions? Good. Okay. Is anybody from the audience that want to speak on behalf of this motion or this variance? Good. Any member of the audience that want to speak for or against this motion? Good. Okay. So we're ready for a motion from the. So we should. Okay. Should we do two motions here?
We should.
Okay. So for the first one. Okay. Seconded by Mr. Boudreau. Any questions on this motion? All those in favor say yay. Yay. Against? Approved. Thank you. And does somebody want to do a motion for the second variance?
I propose that we accept the second variance as presented.
As presented. Seconded by Mr. Boudreau. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
So those are all the items today. Prochaine réunion sera le 27.
The next meeting will be September 27 at 6 o'clock. I will need someone to do the adjournment of the meeting. So, Mr. Boudreau, thank you. Oui? Hein? Oh, yeah, sure. I think they're all charged because for. We can make a test. Veux-tu des. OK. Je vais le mettre sur le canal anglais, c'est le 2. Je suis pas trop sûre comment ça marche. OK, parce que l'autre fois, quand j'ai. Parles-tu français aussi ou tu. Wow, t'es les deux. Non, c'est que l'autre fois, il n'était pas chargé. C'est que ça, c'est pas à batterie comme le mien, il y a des batteries. Puis là, ils sont toutes vertes. Ça veut dire c'est. OK, ça, je vais le tester tout de suite en anglais juste pour être sûr. Can you hear me? OK.
Bonsoir tout le monde. Bienvenue. C'est maintenant le temps pour la première partie qui est l'audience publique pour une demande de rezonage. Je vois que M. Robichaud est...
Before I see Mr. Robichaud is in front of us to guide us. So we need a motion to open the public audience. Moved by Conseiller Germain, seconded by Councillor Emile. All those in favor signify saying aye, against nay, adopted. Mr. Robichaud. Good evening. So this evening we have a public audience. So this is for rezoning, and the request was brought by Mrs. Fleming. I think she said it would work. So the request is to change like the zone R3 to high density to R2, which is average density. Because it's a public and the councillor, I will resume what is a rezoning request. So a rezoning request, to make it simple, is essentially to change what's allowed on the property. So the more concrete example is, let's say you have a property like a zoned residential and someone wants to build something commercial, while commercial use are not allowed on a residential area. So the citizen can make a request to change the zones in the property to allow something else on the property. So the role of the council in the zoning request is to first to accept or not the request, and they do have the take the and they could decide also like to add some conditions. So just to make sure like the law, there's a legal process to follow. It's to just use it as the administration process and to give some recommendation. So the citizen invited to put is to express their comments or objection on a request. So the goal of the presentation today is to explain the process. So just to give you an overview of the project, to present the results of the consultation. In this case, well, there's none. to present recommendations. A recommendation that will give it will be with the presentation, and it comes from the planning committee of the town of Shediac, and it's also to allow the citizen to say their comments or objections. As I mentioned, there is a legal process, so a resolution from the board. So we had a recommendation from the committee, so they're doing the official recommendation to the board. So if they could start with the first reading, and in September, the next council meeting, well, the council could decide to do the second or third reading. So the bylaw will be adopted, and the zoning will be adopted. And once it's accepted, well, it takes a while before it's registered. So September, October, well, if the deadline is followed, so before the rezoning is done. So the act asks us to send a notice to the neighbors. So they send some, and they will also post notices on the website, and it follows like the requirements also for the public consultation. Now we will be talking about the project, and not only the presentation of the process. So the project is on Dupuis Street. Dupuis Street, it's a small secondary street that branches from Cornwall Street. So it's just the west part of Shediac. So the property is circled in red. So it's a riverside property close to the Scoodic River. So it was identified with the consultation of there's a small section of the street. It's not to the municipal standard, so it's something that will have to be it will have to be done before we can. So the existing zoning is R3, so it's a high density residential. So this zone does not limit the numbers of units allowed on one property, and it says we need at least a minimum of 2 units. So the applicant wanted to build a house on the property, so this was not allowed without a rezoning request. So that's why, like, we have a rezoning request. And just to mention, so the gray area, the one striped zone, like that's the sea level elevation. So this one was identified at flood risk and for storm zones. So this one here, so does not forbid any new development, but it always says like if a house would be to build there, it has to be at a certain elevation. So it's a requirement for everyone. It's only like a plan like from 1995 when the lot was created. So the reason I'm showing this plant is only to show that there's a lot of servitude going around this property. So it shows like the possible development to develop this property is limited. This is to show like some pictures of the property. So now we're looking, we see here like it's a Dupuis Street, and it's not up to the municipal standard. So it's at the intersection of Oaks and Dupuis Street. So it's a picture of the another property on Oak Street. It's a straight view from Dupuis, and it's looking towards Cornwall. So this is a photo of the property, so we can see the neighbor and the Scoodic River. I will just summarize the presentation and the justification why the committee made a positive recommendation on this request. So first, like the request is in the sea elevation zone. So this one has environment risk. Usually it's not encouraged to have high density, some structures of these. And the property is close to the Scoodic River. So this is an environment sensitive zone, so it would be like a high density development. and there could be a lot of possibly parking, and it could have an impact on the environment and the management of other surfaces. There's a lot of servitude, so the potential for development is very limited. And the last point I would like to make, like the zone does not allow, like it's a average density, so long term, if they wanted to have average medium density up to 6 unit, well, so in conclude, it was identified as a property that was not the best uh, adequate to have higher density, and it wasn't like a big deviation of a plan to switch like to R2 zone. It was mostly for environmental reasons. So the recommendation of the committee was to approve the rezoning request, and it was without conditions to approve as presented. So this evening, as we said, the intent is to hear like the objections or of the citizen, if there are any, or their comments. And following this, well, the council could either accept the request or they could decide to wait until they have more information, or they could approve the request and even add some conditions if they wish to do so. So we need like 3 readings before the rezoning is accepted. So this concludes my presentation. Any question, I would gladly answer. Thank you, Mr. Rabichaud. Did we receive any objection? On my side, none. Any people in the room would like to express say their objections? Seeing no indications, well, so with this request, as you said, there was the question, the street that is not up to a municipal standard. Well, the width and members of the council, in your agenda, you have a resolution for a road closure. So we met this afternoon, Marc Comier, our engineer, and myself, and we would have a solution to propose, because the commission recommendation was to go forward with the traffic circle. So to close the street was one more option, but it was not really ideal, but it was what was less costly for the owner. But what we proposed, we were approved like for the IBA's project was made. So the Dupuis Street is part of this project. So in 2023, like the town will redo a large part of the infrastructure. So Marcomi and feel like we met on this, and what the town would recommend. So in 2023, we proceed with these works, and we could do this one, and there would be enough money in the budget with the IBA program to do what is being proposed. So there wouldn't be any additional cost to the owner. So it was a lot of things, because we wouldn't have to sell like the land, and the easement too is a long process also. So the street would be divided in two. So it's not ideal. So what we would recommend, just do not do like the road closure, and in resolution with 2023, the town would proceed with this word to have like to put the street up to standards, and there would be no cost to the developer. And I think Phil and the commission, with the resolution in that sense, well, they could proceed with they could give a permit. It's conditioned like the 3 readings are done. So that's what we would propose. Instead of closing the street, we will do some work in 2023. It's something that's supposed to be done. Like, so for this work, so it would be done with this approval of the finance. We already have the finance approved. So we will only dig out the street once, and the cost will be lower because we're doing the whole street once. Councilor, thank you, Gilles. I know like the work was being done 2022. I think they will be spread on the 2 weeks. The bulk of the work, like Main Street, will be in 2022, but Inglis, Campre, and Dupuis Street will be done the following year. So with the accommodation, will there be any delay? Like if people want to build it, that's it, Mr. Robichaud. So we're not the one who will do the determination if the street is up to the standards or not. So we trust the town of Shediac will make sure it's done up to the standards. Thank you. It's good. Thanks for the clarification. Phil, would it be better like to add it in the rezoning conditions, or do we do a motion? It would be a separate motion. The other question I have, so we proceed with the first reading. The second and third readings would be on September the 24th. Then they could do it maybe 2 weeks after the public audience, so they could proceed with the second or third September, like the 13th. So they would bring us to the September 13th. Just a question of clarification. Thank you. So, questions from the board members on the rezoning? If not, without any objection, anybody would like to talk on the subject? We're ready, like, to conclude the public audience. I just need a motion. Moved by Councilor Sylvie, seconded by Councilor. All in favor, saying aye. Against it, adopted. We're in a break for 9 minutes.
Ah, ah. Ah, Paul.
Good evening again, council members, members of the public. It's a pleasure to see you. It's a bit cooler today, so it's a time of the year, so school is coming out and days are cooler, so it's a little break. So we will start with the National Anthem. Thank you. Now for the reflection. Us as a many elected officials, we take the entrance to look at the community in aspiring it. We also take the responsibility to always have a right judgment and at all times during our discussion, all our actions are efficient, inspired, and oriented towards the interests and the global wellness of the citizens of this town. Good evening, everyone. Please apologize for the shorter version of the national anthem. It's a technical glitch. Before I leave the floor, I would like to note we are uh, we are meeting on unceded territory of Mi'kmaq and Maliseet people. In front of you, you do have the agenda. I see Councillor Paul has his mic open. So if you allow me, if possible, could we have a minute of silence? We lost a former council member like Maurice Cormier. He was an honorary fireman and a great volunteer in the city. So we see his photo everywhere. So I wanted to mention it earlier, but and with Maurice, I think he passed away like in July. He was part of the board. So please just have a minute of silence. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Paul. So, Mr. Clerk, we do have like the quorum. Everybody's here. Conflict of interest declaration. Any members of the council would like to mention conflict of interest of one of those items? You know, like for yourself. Perfect. Number 4, approval of the agenda. In front of you, you do have the agenda. I would need a motion to adopt, moved by Councillor Sylvie Colette Boudreau, seconded by Councillor Janice Cormier. Questions? Councillor Patrick, just a correction, maybe to remove like a substitute mayor in the minutes. Oh, I think I was a little bit ahead. We'll adopt the agenda. So, other questions? If not, all those in favor saying aye, against nay, adopted. Approval of minutes from page 4. I move, I think it was the first meeting. I move the adoption of the minutes with this modification. Councillor and Jean-Claude Bertin. Other corrections, omissions, etc.? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Against nay, motion carried. We have no public presentation or petition this evening, so so uh, reading of correspondence from page 16. Yes, so the first correspondence is from Mrs. José Poirier. She's a future student of the Moncton campus. So she got like the school scholarship from the town of Shediac. So it was a thank you letter. So it's great, like the town can help our students. Second page 7 is from the president of the public library, Mrs. Yolande Vierge. So she's informing us that Mr. Michel Béliveau resigned from the board of the library. Mr. Béliveau will not be there, so they will present us also a name once they found someone. Okay. Councillor, would it possible to get the agenda on the screen as before? Yes. Yeah, mine is blank too, so. It's a really old computer, so. And the letters would like to to nominate Mr. Grant for the next 70. It's from Luc Bourgeois. It's a request for Monsieur Bourgeois. He's a developer who will build like the apartment building. So he's asking us at Webster Park. So he would like to install a promotional sign for Webster Park. So he need all the space on this line to proceed with the construction. So he's asking the member of the council for approval to do so. I think the sign is 8 by 12. It's big enough, but usually it's big signs. Like I have a couple of comments. So because I have no problem with this. So we'll find a good plot so it doesn't have an impact on the park because it will be there like in until 2023. I hope it's not in the way because it's more like a passive park, so it's not. If it could be maybe in the corner somewhere. Moved by Councillor Paul, seconded by Councillor Sylvie. Other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Against nay. Motion carried. Next course. It's a letter from a developer, Mr. Jacques Laforêt, concerning 3 requests. I would like to go for each request, a resolution for each request. So the first one is to refund for laterals that were installed in this development, like Domaine Centreville. So laterals are required by the city. So these are requirements for each new development. So in this case, well, his buildings will not have, they will not use his laterals, but we like to install them as we explained at the beginning of the project, so it doesn't cut in the future. That's something we recommend maybe to include eventually in the incentive we would offer like to the developers, like storm laterals. So we could refund if it's something like the town could use in the future. For us at the town, we could absorb those costs and refund them. So the intent is not to remove them like in our requirement. So it's something we want to have because the majority of municipalities, they ask for this to be done once the street is built. But we would have no problem to refund a part of the fees, or because it's something we will probably recommend in future incentives for developers. That's the first request, so it's $9,918.75. Councillor Sidby, thank you, Thank you, Ms. for the explanation. So in the first request, I move that we totally refund the $9,980.75, including HST, as requested Moved by Councillor Sidby, seconded by Councillor Germain. Question on the motion. Just a few questions to clarify. If we approve the request and we refund the 9,000 something, do we have any amounts where we of what reimburse like to the developers who did the same in the past? So we do not have those amounts. I know a few developers install some of them, not a whole lot, but we have some. So it's something. Yes, eventually, yes. If we refund Mr. Laforêt, well, some other developer might knock on our doors, like so we could give those amounts. So I know like it goes back a certain time for those. And also, did we look at the future, what's coming up, like as for development to know the possible costs in the future, just to make sure that the town like we do not start to pay for some things. I think this information is lacking, is missing. It's one thing our Mr. like the the uh, the CEO mentioned, it could address the question of an incentive. So I think like a residential incentive, and there's a commercial incentive policy. They work differently, but it's on the same basic principle. I think it's been what over 10 years now. Well, maybe close to 10 years we've been having this policy in place. It's time to update it and look what else we can do. Like the city of Moncton, they're looking at an incentive for inclusionary zoning. So if you want to build multi-residential unit, so the municipal bylaw will require a certain amount of affordable housing units. So they look at there. I don't maybe it wouldn't work in a smaller community like ours, but it's type of things we could be looking at. So does the town have concern like for the amount that could come after, like once we approve? We cannot say like the amount, but there's a chance like the development. Are we talking about 12, 15, 20,000? I do not have those numbers yet. I know it was required in the past, but we never questioned if it would be below. It's the first time we have a request. That's my concern. I would like to get those amounts before we can go further with the request. And also we could revisit maybe this incentive as soon as possible. Other questions? If not, we have a motion on the table to refund like the complete amount, like for 8 units. Housing unit to answer Councillor Jean. Since it's a requirement required by the town, it's not often like developers will ask or do it before we're not aware like it's done. It's difficult to see who did it or who did not. We will see it once we'll pass the resolution, and then we'll know. We're not talking about major big amounts. I don't think there's a lot. Maybe chance of people will knock our doors or so. All those in favor saying aye, against nay, motion carried. Next, what page 22? This one. It's a catch basin. That's something we required for the developer, like to facilitate the draining. So by with the discussing the development, yes, we agree. Like the town reimburse this item because it was required, was already installed, but for reasons we're not aware of, like maybe the ones that were already there were buried away, so they could not be used anymore. So we required the install. We would still need like a motion moved by Deputy Mayor Jean-Claude Bertin, seconded by Councillor Peter, to reimburse like the extra backyard catch basins. Questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Against nay. Motion carried. And the last one. We're bringing it, but it's a requirement. We asked the development, so once they did the development, we didn't have to bring it here, but the developer was asking. And it's 100% refundable by the town. It's a requirement we ask. There's no question there, so. Moved by Councillor Sylvie Colette Boudreau, seconded by Peter Bro. Questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Against nay. Motion carried. Next, page 24 is a presentation you had last week from Jean-Paul Desjardins. It's the Beau Séjour Tourism Center, and all they asked the town to contribute. So there's already a dozen of municipalities that contributed of the city would be $5,639. $5,639. They are very specific. Councillor Paul, I was watching last week and I saw I like the concept. I don't know which page for some things that this is this project, like 2 ice surface, like indoor pool. But there's other parts in the project which is very interesting for our city, especially like the bicycle trail, and also like the cross country ski. I have no problem since the other communities are contributing also to this project. So I look in the budget, but for a special project I did not see any money, or if we had any in the capital project, we will still have some funds left. I could look in the budgets, but. And I don't know if we could add a condition. So with the study, there's very in-depth discussion with our director, to integrate our leisure installation with them, either for bicycle or cross country. I'm not talking about pickleball and pools. That's something I would like to see, like the extension of this project with our own projects in the town, so it could merge together, could have some kind of synergy. Do not. It's not. It could. It should. That this is my position on this file. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the 5,639. It's a feasibility study. This is our contribution to this, and we'll see what the results of this study are. This study for the number of the project. That's what I have no idea of. So the study will show us. Councillor Sylvie, you had. I would need a motion to approve the contribution of the township, moved by the Deputy Mayor Jean Coulbert, seconded by Emile O'Brien. Councillor, question on the motion? If not, all those in favor signify saying aye. Against nay. Motion carried. Next correspondence is from the page 47. It's from a citizen. It's something we discussed last week concerning the installation of an access on Riverside Drive. You were all informed of the file, so we're asking some kind of partnership with the town. Councillor Germain, I only have one question. Could we refund what he's paying for his insurance, or should we maybe insure this, or is it something that can be done or not? I checked with our insurance company, and the answer was quite direct. We cannot insure the land because it's not a property of the town. So I discussed with Insurance VNO, and they discussed the insurance company would not allow to insure this property because it's not a town's property. So the request was to put insurance until the end of the season, and then find permanent solutions. depending on the direction of the council, we would work with the citizen to see where we would close the access because it's a question of responsibilities. Because we look with the options with the Rotary Park with Denis and the Omarus and all the town's component integrated with the Omarus project, and maybe we could discuss with the marina. So that's something we're looking at for permanent spaces in future. For temporary, it's just like to finish the season. So in the past, I can tell you like the town, yes, they put like a big rocks to just to block the access, and there was a lot of pressure from the population. But a report from Northern Designs showed that like the council mandated the administration like to look for options like for an access to the beach for this type of vessel. It was really like for a boat like access. And at the time, the council did not accept any proposals. I can say the access on Riverside was something that was not recommended for safety and accessibility reason. And we know this access should eventually be closed because of responsibility. It will fall also on the back of the town and the citizens. So we would agree like to close it and then find permanent solutions. Councillor Paul sympathize like with the owners of these installations. I would like to mandate like the administration to prepare a plan, as Jill mentioned from the Rotary plan, for the access of canoe and kayak for smaller vessels. And if ever it happen, I would like to add also a signage strategy like a riverside. Eventually, if it's to block the access, some signage, and also a marketing campaign for our citizen to say eventually we will have an installation accessible to the Skoduk River basin behind maybe the Big Lobster or once the Nice plan will be done. It's the same water plan, and it should relieve also the owners on the other side, and all the installations are there. So the restrooms are there, the Rotary Park. So I don't know, Denis, like for the 2022 season, is it something that will be available, or will it still be in construction? We have a project right for Akowa, like if to fund 50% of the project. So once we're at the municipal budget, there will be a recommendation to get funds for the project, and part would be for the SDR. So according to the available funds and priorities, we'll know what's asked. If I understand, also the wharves are already there, so it's just a question. The parking that would be used for people using. We would need also an evaluation of parking. It's not, but the parking should be maybe reassessed. So that's something I would mandate the council to. I have a motion at the table to mandate the administration to look at other sites. Example, maybe the Big Lobster, like to have an access for smaller boats or smaller vessel. I don't know if it's the exact term, and then we could look at two different places. So it might help. It could help. So I have this motion for Councillor Paul, seconded by Councillor Germaine. I have several others wanted to talk, but I will take some question on the motion first. And no, all those in favor signify saying aye, against nay. Motion carried. Councillor Sylvie, thank you, Mr. May. Also, I sympathize with Mr. and Mrs. Pellerin. So when we look at the letter and we're asking for a temporary solution, I have no problem like to create to have an agreement with the owners, like with his insurance company, so they're covered in case something happened. But if for the end of the year 2021 we keep it open and something happened, it's great. Like we made an agreement with Mr. Pellerin, but he will be stuck with his insurance. Like if something should happen there. So I don't know. I know it's been done for several years. So what is the risk? nobody is aware of the risk. Let's say there's a death, a major accident, and there's a traffic jam. Yes, so we're nice, like to make an agreement with him, but I'm not sure, like how well it would stand in court because I think we're aware of what's going on. I want to have like a permanent agreement, as Councillor Paul said, but for now, the year is almost over, unless somebody can discuss more and knows more about insurance. But we know, like, we might have to we should close it. That's how I see it, unless you have other ideas. Or I think it's a big risk we're taking. I don't know if it would be the town's insurance that would be in cause. It's another reason because we are a municipality, but right now it's not our installation. So to put a nice sign and put some barricades, I think that would be. I think that would be the best of our solution. If you want something to make a motion, I can do it. I'm ready to do it now, but maybe we could group those two motions. So I'm making a motion to close. It's not our land, so the citizen for the year 2021 to ask to stop the access to the vessels at this specific location because of insurance issues. So we contribute to close the access a few years ago. Maybe so we could redo what we did in the past because we had rocks, and so it'd be to put them back, and then it would be for the Webster Park. So according to essentially that's what according to what the owner would like, if they would like, not necessarily rock, but it's still like a precedent that was done in the city. Councillor Janice, yes, I would like to mandate the administration to work to Mr. and Mrs. Pellerin. We will work with the owners to close it as much as possible. So motion to tables moved by Councillor Sylvie, seconded by Councillor Janice, that we work with the owner to help essentially like to close. We will not make an agreement for insurance, so it will not be on the table, but to help the owner to make sure the site is safe in terms of access. Is it well summarized? A question, Councillor Jean-Claude. So with this, I would move that there should be a sign installed. It was the motion to closing now. Yes, I move like we had a communication. So that's what I know. It has to be clear. So do we have a timeline, or would be as soon as possible? It's not something we want to do in December. And we're fortunate, like nothing happened so far, but all those in favor signify aye, against nay. Adopted. This completes the correspondence. Thank you very much. Report from Standing and Special Committee. Financial report from page 49. So I will need a motion to adopt the financial report as moved by Councillor Germain and seconded by Councillor Boudreau. All those in favor saying I will take questions. Entertain questions on financial report. So I know like the ED said if you have something in particular, you can send it like an email to help. But if you have anything else, no problem. If not, all those in favor saying aye, against nay, adopted. Carried. Next, police service from page 76. So you have the report for the quarterly report from the Southeast District. Corporal Roussel was here last week and he mentioned it and we reviewed this. So I don't know if you had anything else, like anything you saw, like question. Corporal Roussel is not here today, so we could forward the question if it's the wish of the council. Councilor Paul, it's not necessarily concerning the report, but Jill, I would like if we could do steps to see the cost for 2022 because we heard like what's happening with the RCMP and the increase of 15-20%. The sooner we know what will be the total cost for the fees here, we will modify our budget accordingly. So anyway, like this is with the Department of Public Safety, so that's part of the provincial agreement. Sooner than later, so I don't know if they have all those numbers. I did not hear from municipalities. Like got information. I was discussing a little bit with, and I saw a story for the town of Campbellton, and also like they did not have the information, and they were concerned like how much higher the cost would be with the collective agreement that was signed, and it was retroactive 5 years. So the bill could be a little bit higher. So we do not know. Something I was not aware, and he mentioned it to me. Like the city of Campbellton, they have a direct contract with Ottawa. So it's not under the provincial agreement. It's a municipal contract. SSNG, like Moncton Revenue, it's signed directly with Ottawa. And the town of Campbellton, the city of, they have the same population. They have more infrastructure because they were bigger. They lost population, and their budget for RCMP is 3 million, just a bit under, like maybe 2.8 something. So it gives you an indication like what they're paying for the tax base and population they have. So it would not be too far from what we're paying. So they have more businesses than what we have. They pay that already. Food for thought. 8.2 fire department from page 98. I know like the fire chief Donald was here. He's always here. I heard like I heard like a siren, so I was wondering. Thank you very much for being here today. And I know like you were quite busy over the last 3 Fridays, or very early Saturday mornings. So we're hoping, yes, Councilor Paul. I don't Donald Auger. According to Donald's report, like between the town and county, so a car accident for 2-3 times, like it's higher in the county. Do we pay for services outside of the city once our volunteer firefighters participate, goes on emergencies? If I go by memory, I think it's 48 or 49% of the expenses of the fire department is reimbursed by the province for services in LSDs. Our equipments too, like the percentage is reimbursed like for the same amount. And I think this amount didn't change. So Councillor Paula, I could have looking for the other one was to repeat what Mr. Mayor said, like for the what's happening like in the neighboring communities. So the volunteer work you're doing, I congratulate you. I thank you for helping our neighboring communities. We're hoping like it's ending, like it's coming to an end. I apologize, Councillor Paul. No. So, Councillor Paul, in the budget, page 51, under fire, 333,138. I think this is the amount reimbursed by the province. It's a revenue we have for the fire department for their services, like from the line. This is the item 113, 124. Thank you very much. 8.3 building permits. We just received like written by handwritten. We received like last week at the plenary meeting. We see like it's on the numbers at the end of July, so we are above like our record year, which was last year in 2018, and the prior way 35.8 millions, close to 36. So we still several months left from the calendar year for this one. So we will see like if the trend goes on. I think there will still be some more, but the construction season, summer construction, well, it's coming to an end, but they usually still build in September. Councillor Paul, just to share with the council, I met with Danny from the Department of One Permit and the building permit. I can tell you, this guy works really hard for the council and the citizens. So the project's in place. So thank you, Danny. It reflects also, and I thanks also the developers in town. It's good teamwork. So I was explaining how it worked. It's new, like with economic development and with Mayor. Excellent collaboration with the commission, the developers, and thank you very much, Danny. The next item. So the one from quickly, like a report from the town manager. Just a quick update. As you know, we will approve like the IBA project for West Main. We're waiting on the deadlines with Mike and the Crandall engineering team. They will be the engineers of the project. We are establishing the deadline, as we mentioned in the public consultation. Some work will be done in 2022 and the rest in 2023. So we will prepare the plans with and all the engineering work will be done this work. The construction should start next year with Main and Dupuis Street, Inglis, and Grand Prix. They should be done in 2023. So the sewage coming in also. We will go also to the borrowing commission. So because the town is the manager, 7.4 million, and we will be refunded by provincial, federal government, and also by the storage committee. So we will have to borrow for the total amount to the borrowing board. And we will not finance the whole project with a contribution of 800,000 to federal convention. Federal, I think it's out. Provincial was 26.7%, and federal is the rest. I think for federal would contribute 2.9 million, and I think the province would 33% for the federal government. So it should be in line for next year. So we'll try to manage also with the tourist season, and it will be similar to what once we did Main Street, like in downtown. It was a little bit hectic, but is it something that's do you have any discussion with Crandall? But so during the summer season, will it be a construction site or trying to keep it open maybe for July and half of August? And as we did, I think we stopped like the works at the end of June, and we started back in the fall. So maybe for the distance, it was feasible, but I don't know if it's something that would be feasible again because of the size of Main Street. We did not check this detail yet, but we will have to assess this. We'll only have also one window to do it, of time to do it. And one thing to consider, if it could fall in that time, well, if not sometime a construction, well, it's growing pains. So thank you. Councillor Sylvie, to have the good signage for detours, it would help also like to relieve the traffic also. And I understand from the sewer commission, so the commission, like the amount was more like it closer to the town for what the town will pay. The municipality will, the town will pay more than the commission. So I understood like the sewer commission would pay more than the town. So they have different phases. So the main street, it's a big piece, and we have two-thirds of this. And the sewer commission only have on Grand Prairie du Puy. Well, it's a smaller part, so they have more work. So they have two-thirds, and we have one-third. So, but once we do all the totals with pavement and storm and all, so it was more impact. So I did not and I think like the global contribution and the commission, they're very close. I think it might be maybe $100,000 difference. So I think they have a little bit more engineering at the commission. So they take care of the sewer, and of course will affect also like the Rotary Park and Omaris opening. And we confirm like the project is going really well, and they did like the development and the section we want to redo an echo in the province. So it's going, things are going really well. So we are very optimistic. And for human resources, as you know, like Réunion finished last Friday, so we opened the position, but we did not get a lot of applications. So we will review like the task description, and we reopen the the position. So it's not something that's urgent, but because Région took a lot of responsibility, and we want to we will review like the job description and they will review the task, and we will try to broaden it as much as possible. As Mark Savoy is our communication officer, like he left to work for the federal government, and Mark asked us to his thank yous. Like he worked 4 cities with the town. He brought like a great expertise, was taking care of social media, and his first role was the translation. So and over the years, well, he had additional tasks, and he's this last week. So most of this responsibility will be done internally. So and from Denise team, and for the rest, well, we'll get the services from outside. I know the communication will be done. There will be an adjustment period, and we raise the bar like for the social media, and we'll make sure like to keep the quality of service we had before in the future. And then like the council meeting, we would like to get a meeting to discuss like the questions like for regular meetings, in camera meetings, a prac meeting. I talked with the people from the service commission to set the dates, like to have those meeting to avoid like the overlap, like the council, like, because it started too late at the end of month because the prac meeting was going on and with public audience. So I would like to make some suggestion to avoid this situation to happen again. So that's thing we will be making recommendation to well, with the procedural bylaws and the 3 readings. So we would like so it's in place if the board the council agrees by January. In a nutshell, that's the information I wanted to share. Thank you very much. Question for the town manager. Recommendation from the Southeast Regional Service Commission. Did we have something else? I know it's always an item on the agenda. No, Phil? You had nothing else? You earn your paycheck, right? No. 11, unfinished business. So the administration had nothing, no? And the council members, did you have something? Council books of it. Thank you, Mr. We discussed last week. at the plenary meeting, like concerning our lease that's over from the town hall. It's due December, so do we discuss it now to give a mandate to the administration? Do we for a motion like for the town hall? So I'm not comfortable to read the motion if we cannot discuss here, or do it. So once we go to the agenda, like we do not necessarily. It's a either we discuss it before or after, but it's essentially like two choices. If the council agrees to discuss it before, certainly, but it it will not go against like the decision from another motion. If you have anything, we can discuss it. Maybe that's from there. Like you mentioned, like a 10-year lease. I'm a little bit against it. That's what the owner said. It's not that's no, it's not something I want to do. Like so, was I was on the town hall committee, we were nominated. Four of us were appointed, like to negotiate like the offer. So I would suggest like we had a committee with councillors who could negotiate like the lease. I don't think we have so a whole lot to negotiate. We'll probably discuss or decide discuss the number of years and the rent it will ask and the conditions. If not, well, I don't think we do have a lot of negotiating power. I understand, like, yeah, no, it's not really 10 years, not over the last year. For the council member, would you like to would like to get an expertise who know how to negotiate a lease? Because I negotiated one lease in my life when I was a student, when it wasn't something extraordinary. It, we would like to get some help. I know Mr. Edie said managers, it's not his expertise. It's not an expertise from this staff member. And I understand also that start a discussion and negotiation, something like that. I think it should be the responsibility of the council and not not the management. I think it was always like that, like for the town hall, because we didn't want to fall under the administration responsibility. If we're looking at the expertise, I would like to get the cost, how much it will cost us. We could mandate like the administrator to look for this type of expertise, find someone. I don't know what type of profession. Collier, maybe. Colliers, they do have this expertise, and probably others too, but to make some recommendation to see how much it would cost like to retain their services. So they could give us like a quote. And then they could go back to the council and say, here, that's something offered or something we could take advantage of. And then we could mandate the administration with a certain numbers of board members. So the decision would be taken at the end of September. It could take a certain amount of time, like to negotiate the lease. I don't know how long it would take, but do we I have other comments too. So we'll get back to this. Councillor Emile, it's a question to Patricia. I think we should hire like a consultant to negotiate for us for a lease with the town hall here. We need someone independent. It will bring new ideas, not Collier, because we had Collier. And I saw Collier's report. It was hard to understand, so I think it was not really what we were looking for. So I think we should hire like a consultant used to do to negotiate lease, do these type of task. what's your comment for now? I agree with what Patricia said. We need to have specific dates. I would like to get an answer by mid-September. We could have like a special meeting, so as soon as the administration find the consultant or the so they then they could as soon as they get the answer, we meet with the board, and we would have a decision. A specific mandate with specific dates, and this person could take the input of what the councils is looking for, so they would know how to start discussions. At the end of the day, it's not that bad. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just not to repeat, I think it's important, like all the board is mandated. It would be like a decision from the council and not necessarily a committee. So I would rather have it a consultant, and then to push things forward, and we still have a limited amount of time. And I agree with Councillor Boudreau to if we want to get like time is flying, it's going by quickly. So if I could summarize the discussion, well, the idea would be to retain the services working in that field. We would be able to negotiate a lease for the actual play is for at least from January 1st, 2022, at least for short term. That's what we're looking for, essentially. And after we could have discussion with this individual, just to help give them some help that person, and then this person could contact the owners and see what could happen, and then they could report back to the council. So Councillor Janice, would it be, do we have to meet with the individual, because we pretty much agree like what we're looking? I think it would be important to have like recommendations when we meet with them. That's some. Then we'll give that person the mandate. So because that individual would want to know what his or her mandate would be. So a motion in that sense would be appropriate. Moved by Councilor Emile O'Brien. I can support. Can we put like a date? Let's say we'll meet that person at a special meeting in 2 weeks. It would take 2-3 weeks. So first, the administration has to find someone, and secondly, once the administration goes back, well, we could organize a special meeting as soon as possible. So if we could do a special meeting for only the signed item, I think it would be appropriate. The individual maybe is not aware of all the history of this, so moved by Councillor Emile, seconded by the Councillor Bourg-Chavary. All those in favor signify saying aye. Against, nay. Motion carried. Other items on unfinished business. So last week, in the plenary, the question of the land. To have the resolution from the sale from Mr. Gilles Tivier. So we sent to the owners like the resolution that will pass this evening. So we should be good to proceed with the sale within the next few days. 12, introduction of new business. Did we have any new business? I know the administration did not bring anything to the agenda. So last we discussed so for the closing of so the road a closure will come back to resolution. So Mr. Deputy Mayor, citizen from the Sebastien approached me because of the construction like of the at the end of the street, and there's a lot of trucks going by. The street is not wide. There's a lot of children, so they're wondering the contractors during daytime could open like the gates so the trucks will circulate like otherwise and not always use circulate on Sebastien Street, Beau Bridge when it's blocked. So from the roundabout, and maybe they could close it at night if it's necessary, because they think like some are driving quite fast and it can be dangerous. It's a development project, so maybe just to mention it, if they maybe approach a developer to see what they could do. I don't know if there's they would plan of opening it, or I don't know. Something we can do. Council Paul, just two things very quickly. It's not a request, but inquiries. I would like to thank Denis and his team, like on the bicycle trail. It's really done. It's done professionally. It's clean. You have good signage. It's great to see the final product. It's item second item like the ball hockey, like the multi-sports surface. I saw the construction will start very soon, like at the bottom of Centennial Street. And Denis once again and his team and Roger's team. It's a project of maybe close to 900,000, 800,000. It all would cost like 6,000 for the town of Shediac citizens. Like it's incredible, like the fundraising, the other government agencies. So I'm really eager to see the final project. So I congratulate all the people involved, like and the program. It should open. I hope it's open this winter. Very thank you, Denis. Thanks again. And later we have a resolution for phase 2 for tender. Thank you. It's great. Thank you very much. Phase 1, so it's supposed to, it will end when? We put in 10, I think it's October 31st. So there might be some delays because of the material, but well, the deadline would be October 31st. Thanks for the goal. Number 13, inquiries by members of council. So we're overlapping at this same time. Other inquiries on any subject? If not, we'll proceed with 14, introduction and reading of bylaws. From page 102, Councillor Germain, if you want to read. Thank you, Mr. I move that the second reading of bylaw P 1436 8P, modifying the municipal plan of the town of Shediac, be done by title and in integrity. Moved by Councillor Germain, seconded by Councillor Janice. All those in favor signify saying aye, against nay. Motion carried. Mr. Clerk. So bylaw, it's a bylaw modifying P 36 with the powers and planning act. The municipal council is taking what it takes. The municipal plan P 36 8P, editing on the April 22nd 2050 and submitted to the county of Westmoreland 369 on May the 30 is modified as followed. The card use like land use at Appendix A from the municipal plan, modify as we show like from the map dated March 31st, 2021, and Appendix A-8, modifying the designation 703 72156 70119 7006131 and 704 90875 are like as Appendix A. Thank you, Councillor Jam. I move that we accept the second reading of P14-36 8P by its title and its integrality. Moved by, seconded by Emil O'Brien. All those in favor signify saying aye, against nay. Motion carried. It brings 136. Councillor German, third reading. Thank you, sir. Of P 1436, bylaw modifying like the from municipal plan to general commercial. I move that that the third reading of bylaw P 1436 8P, it's a bylaw modifying like the municipal plan, be done by its title. Moved by Council Chairman Sylvie Colette Boudreau. All those in favor signify saying aye. Against nay. Motion carried. Mr. Clerk, P 14-36 8P, a bylaw modifying municipal plan. P14, I move that we accept the third reading by title and the adoption of the bylaw P 14-36 8P, moved by Councilor German Gala, seconded by CV Colette. All those in favor signify saying aye. Against nay. Motion carried. Next, 142. Councilor Peters. Second reading of the bylaw Z dash 14 dash 44 dash 42Z, a bylaw amending zoning bylaw. Z for general comment. I move this be done by title and integrality. Moved by Councilor Peter Bro, seconded by Paul Boudreau. All those in favor signify saying aye. Against nay. Motion carried. Mr. Clerk, the bylaw Z 1444, law amended zoning bylaw from the town of Shediac. But the municipal council takes us as follow. The bylaw, the Z44 enacted on 27th day of April in file in the Westmoreland County Register Office as number 3379597 on May 23rd is hereby amended as follows. A schedule entitled Town of Shediac Zoning Map, whenever it is mentioned in the text of the zoning bylaw, is amended by the map hereto attached as Schedule A-42. Councilor Peter, I shall move that to accept the second reading of the bylaw Z-14-44 by its title and integrality. Moved by Councilor Peter, seconded by Councilor Paul Boudreau. All those in favor signify saying aye. Against nay. Motion carried. Then the next 152. 147. Councilor Peter. I move that the third reading of the bylaw said that 1444 modified amending zoning bylaw be all those in favor saying aye. Against nay. Motion carried. Adopted. Carried. So the bylaw Z-1444 modifying like the zoning I think from the town of Shediac. I move that we accept the third reading by the title and the adoption of the Z-14-44-42Z. Moved by Councilor Peter Bro, seconded by Sylvie Colette Boudreau. All those in favor signify saying aye. Against nay. Motion carried. The next one, 152. Councilor Patricio. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First reading of Z-1444 and 42Z, a bylaw amending the zoning bylaw R3 to R2. The bylaw, under the vested being be authorized, and that is bylaw is doing the first reading tonight. Moved by the Councilor Bourg-Chauvet, seconded by Councilor Germain Gala. All those in favor signify saying aye. Against nay. Motion carried. And Mr. Clerk, bylaw Z-14-44. It's bylaw amending zoning bylaw township that we accept the first reading Z-14-44 by its title. Moved by Councillor Bourg-Chevalier, seconded by Councillor Germaine Galland. Questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Against, nay. Motion carried. First reading done. Can I ask one question? Maybe it's not necessarily concerning like the zoning, but maybe concerning what you suggested at the presentation. So that we do the roundabout. So in 2023, so how the owners, what they would do in 2022, they will just go like from 2020, they will just use the Dupuis Street. That's what we discussed with the commission. As long as the town will proceed like with the planning of the street in 2022. So there is no problem like for them using Dupuis Street. Like from what I understood from the commission, there shouldn't be a problem. I just wanted to make sure. The two representative from the commission are nodding. So that it's yes. Thanks for your question. We are at 161. Mr. Deputy Mayor, thank you. First reading of the bylaw 65, a bylaw concerning the stormwater. So that this bylaw, the bylaw 65, a bylaw concerning the management of surface water in the town of Shediac be authorized. And that's bylaw is, and we're doing the first reading per its title, moved by Deputy Mayor Jean, seconded by Jean Estromdi. So this is a bylaw for the public. It's to manage the stormwater in the Shediac. So it will good practices will be adopted. Practices that are better for the environment. So it should regulate this. So we did not have any bylaw, and it will clarify for also like how we connect. So we can't connect like from stormwater to sewers. Councilor Paul, question. Yes, thank you, Mr. Last week, Phil did a good presentation. Thanks for this subject. Really like to go forward, like the impact on the developers. Like if we put something in practice, I'm not against like the progress, especially like for the retention pond. I think it will be part of this strategy. Not yet, no. So that's what I understand. Like the net zero concept, it was not part of the bylaw, not yet. It's for future modification after other studies. Thank you very much. So like the construction of those retention basin and so, to see how it will the impact it will have. So it will be in the zoning process. So it will be done from the zoning, and then we will have public consultation. We will have public consultation with the developer. So so we will be looking at this. We'll be looking at commercial incentives to adapt it. So we will do some recommendations, and it will follow also the bylaw on the stormwater management, because all the land municipalities, so and we amalgamate them, especially along the 15, so the draining of those land. Thank you very much. So we have a motion on the table. All those in favor signify saying aye. Against, nay. Adopted. Mr. Clerk, bylaw 66 concerning the stormwater in the town of Shediac. I move that we accept the first reading of the bylaw number 65 by its title. Moved by Deputy Mayor Jean-Claude Bach, seconded by Jean-Paul Boudreau, Councillor. All those in favor signify saying aye. Against, nay. Carried. It brings me to page 167, 169. Councillor Emile Aubra. In this case, we will recommend the administration to cancel the motion and then send and present a new one if the council would proceed with the construction of the Dupuis Street and bring up to the standards, including the roundabout that allowed like the two properties at the end of the street to have access to a public street. But this work will be done. This work by the town in 2023, and it will be integrated in the construction project. Thank you. So we proceed with the work in 2023. So I would need a motion. A motion to do the works or to not go forward with the road closure and to proceed with the construction of the dead end or of the cul de dead end as move proposed by the Regional Service Commission and the PRAC also recommended this. That for this to be done, and the cost will be paid by the town. I shall move. Moved by Councillor O'Brien, seconded by the Deputy Mayor Jean-Claude Bertin. A question on the motion? If not, all those in favor signify. Oh, yes. One question that came up to my mind. If the owner will build and in 2023 we will do the roundabout, we will be working with the owner to make sure like the driveway is well positioned. Yes, it will be some discussion because it's all like the roundabout is the property of the town. So I think we belong like all like the street. For the roundabout, I think it's 60 feet. I think she could put like the feet, so it will be established so the cul-de-sac, so she will know. So we'll have to discuss with her to make sure like the driveway is not higher, so she's not outside like the. Maybe she want to do keep her driveway, use gravel on the driveway instead of asphalt. All those in favor signify saying aye, against nay. Carried. Next one with motions and resolution. 173. Mr. Deputy Mayor. Nomination, a resolution for a bank. No. 173. Nomination, a treasurer. Nomination, treasury printer. Whereas, according to the Local Governance Act, Article 71(1), the council of each local government has to nominate like a clerk, a treasury, and an auditor. Whereas, according to the Local Governance Act, Article 71(3), an individuals can be nominated to more than one position, whereas the Local Governance Act, Article 73, any council authorized to appoint an officer can also designate an alternate in case of absence for illness or any other reasons because of the vacancy of the position. Whereas following like the retirement leave of the treasury of the town, Mr. Réjean Godrin, the treasury position is vacant. Be it resolved that the clerk and the general manager of the town, Mr. Gilles Bello, act as a treasurer by interim until the position of treasurer is filled. I shall move. Moved by the Deputy Mayor Jean-Claude Bertin, seconded by Councillor Janice Cormier. Question on the motion? All those in favor signify saying aye. Against? Nay. Motion carried. Congratulations for the additional task. Thanks for your service. That's what I wanted to say. Councillor Peter, a question. It's more additional tasks like given to our manager. So do we pay more like in the meantime? Do we increase like the salary, or we did not really discuss? That's something we could do in camera. I have some suggestion to do like. That's something that should be done in camera. It's something, not something we should discuss. The mention reason being because the town treasurer says it's an important position. I didn't want like we give additional work to our manager, and he does quick decision just to replace the position. I think it's one of the position after the manager, the town manager is more important. I think we should take our time and take additional work to the staff. I think they should be compensated accordingly. Very good observation. Thank you, Councillor Peter. We'll go back to, we'll have a discussion later on the 175, like a bank resolution, page 175. Bank resolution. Nomination, banking resolution, following like the retirement of the finance director, Jean Godin, August 30, 2021, be it resolved that Mr. Denis Deblanc, Director of Community Life, be authorized to sign the checks and other bank documents on behalf of the town of Shediac, moved by Councilor Beliveau and seconded by Councilor Germaine Galland. So we need 4 persons to sign. So we'll add a 4th person at least for an interim period. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Against nay. Motion carried. And next, page 177, financing offer, National Bank. Thank you. Financing offer, but National Bank, be it resolved that the financial offer dated July 23rd, 2020, with a total amount of $3,060,000 of the National Bank for the reconstruction project of Weldon and Saint Joseph Street, and that the stormwater system be adopted. Moved by Councillor Bourg-Chevary and seconded by Councillor Sylvie Colette-Boudreau. This is for the interim funding for the Weldon Street and the stormwater system, with the result done by the study done around Sébastien Street. So those projects, all those in favor signify saying aye. Against nay. Motion carried. Next one will be on page 189. Councillor Sylvie. Thank you, Miss. It's Zamboni purchase. Some be it resolved like they will proceed immediately to the process of replacing the Zamboni in the 10-year plan, because the delivery delay is about 1 year, and that tender for offers of the amount of 150,000 comes from special projects budget 22 arena. Moved by Councilor Sylvie Boudreau, seconded by Janice Cormier. So there's a 1 year delay, not only to receive for these type of equipment. It's just to start the process. So at least it's delivered in the appropriate time in 2022. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Against nay. Motion carried. Question, Councilor Paul. Yes. Thanks, Denis, for this. So we have a strategy like for advertising. Could we have one maybe to explore what is the full amount? So what we ordered for the Zamboni, it's a new Zamboni. It will be more. It will probably be more interesting for a new sponsor. Like we have some sponsors for the for the benches in the arena, but we could try to get a sponsor. Is it a current practice? Like, yes. Thank you. So we voted. Next, 109, Councilor Paul. The contractor work construction and repair of a concrete sidewalk, TS 21-28291. Be it resolved that the contract number TS 21-28291 for the construction and repair of concrete sidewalks on Main Street and the construction of a new sidewalk on Beaubridge Street be awarded to the lowest bidder, Basque Construction Comité, for the amount of 190,000, 170,010 HST included, and that those funds be taken the budget 123072 sidewalk repairs and 128291 new sidewalks, a 10-year plan. Moved by Councilor Paul Bourteau, seconded by Germaine Galland. Question, Councilor Paul. Yes, Mark. Last week you mentioned that, like, the money that would save because of the tender was interesting. Can you tell us what you will be doing if we can invest in sidewalks, maybe elsewhere in the town? So in the budget for new sidewalks, well, we will be using this money for Beaubridge Street, and the surplus also it will keep for the following years. So the repair budget for sidewalk, we will add another section, so maybe 60,000 on Main Street and La Forest Street. So we might be able to do a little bit more work, but we'll continue until we go through the budget of 200,000 for repair. So I saw on the report that like a 10-year plan for sidewalk. I never saw like that plan, so I knew there's no on public works. So eventually, if some board members with Mark and his team have a plan, like we do it for leisures for street, maybe have a plan for sidewalks, and they had a specific criteria like sidewalk. I think it has to the board. It's a recommendation from the committee, so we would bring. My other question, Mark, is concerning like the sidewalks for the Pombo Bridge for the residents at the corner, like so for the edge, we met like with the owner, with myself and the executive director. So we had an assessment with the landscape architect. So just so the owner agrees that we remove like all the we replace like the fence like with the row of trees. So it's and the hedge the new cedars would be on her own on her line. So we prepared the agreement. So I follow up on this. So she seemed to agree with what we proposed to her. Thank you, Mark and Jay, for your diplomacy, because it was a sensitive project. So thank you very much. And the communication also with other residents. Some letters, so my ready is ready. So if the contract is accepted, and the last question, well, the deadline. It will be next Tuesday. So it starts next week. So the week of September 7th. So that's the goal. And it should be done. I don't think it should take a whole lot of time. So we're talking maybe 4 to 6 weeks. So maybe by mid-October, and the landscaping also it's a good time. So good timing. Councilor Sylvie, did you have a question? So we had a motion on the table. We did not vote yet, but all those in favor saying aye, against nay. Motion carried. Next one, page 194. Councilor Janice. Contract award, Phase 1, upgrading storm sewers. Be it resolved that the contract number TS-238110 for Phase 1 of the upgrading of storm sewers be awarded to the lowest bidders, Bowser's Construction Limited, for the amount of $478,227.50, HST included, and that the funds be taken from the budget 2-210 general capital storm water projects. Moved by Councillor Janice Cormier, seconded by Councillor Paul Boudreau. Questions on the motion? I have a question. I was looking, it's just to clarify, like, the place. I know it was several phases or sections, so I was looking for the context also, like work between Dona Street and Webster Street, and the installation also for the stormwater. So I understand the second part, but Donna and Webster Street, so there's Brooke who's there, so it's mostly ditching that will be done, so it will improve like the draining capacity, because it's like a channel for now. Like it's even more than a little channel, like a ditcher. And they will ICD also, like according to Englobe's report. So in all that zone. So and they will do some work also on the trail. That's getting out of the walking trail from Sebastien Street. So that will be also done. So I was wondering, like down on Webster, so it's not where the trail is. So it's past Webster. It's going south. So you answer exactly what I was looking for. Councillor Sylvie, thank you. As the question, so what is the timeline on that one? It was the same, about 6 weeks worth of work. So it would start this fall. So thank you. Thank you. So we move by Councillor Janice Cormier, seconded by Paul Boudreau. All those in favor signify by saying aye, against nay. Motion carried. Page 198, Councillor Sylvie. Thank you. Phase 2 multi-sports launch of tender process. Be it resolved, like the surface infrastructure and multi-sport phase 2, that the building construction goes forward with a total budget of $240,000, 157 and 49 cents. Be also further resolved, like the project be funded from the confirmed forms, a fundraiser of $4,557.49 that will be reimbursed to the town over a 5-year period, and a provincial contribution of $200,000. I shall move by Councillor Sylvie Colette Boudreau, seconded by Councillor Germaine Galland. Questions on the motion? Councillor just to give a qualification, just a clarification. This evening we're voting like to start the call for tenders. So the tenders will be in September. So could you give me like the timeline? So I got the draft today for the tenders. So probably Wednesday, like September 1st, and I think it's 17th on ABON. And after 7 days, it brings us to the September 21st. Then we review it, and then the recommendation will come to the board, to the council on September 27th. So everything goes well. So the work could start in October. Thank you. I would like to mention also Mr. Roger Galland is here, so I would just like to say hi to Mr. Roger and his wife and the former councillor Laura that most of us already know. Moved by Councillor Sylvie Godette Boudreau, seconded by Councillor Germaine. All those in favor signify saying aye, against nay. Motion carried. Next one. Page 200. Councillor Emile. Linguistic Landscape. Your hair down salon and the Shediac Pet Store. Be it resolved that the town of Shediac reimburse the following business owners, and that the funds used for the refund comes from the linguistic landscape project. So the account 106,425. You are down salon $717 plus HST. Shediac Pet Store $474 plus HST. Moved by Councillor Emile O'Brien, seconded by The Deputy Mayor, Jean-Claude Bertin, a question on the motion. If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Against nay, motion carried. Next page 206. Councillor Janice, I forgot to ask a question, so do we read whereas or everything that's on part A? Because there were house, well, you have to read it, so everything that's subject AM, Maison Amélan Comité, Procédure Resto, Unit 2, La Forêt and Jack Street extensions. Whereas Mr. Jacques Falk for AML, Home Limited, made a request to extend like La Forêt Street for 284 meters and Jacques Street from 357 to build a cul-de-sac. Whereas like our bylaw 1437 of the subdivision of the town of Chedic stipulates to Article 3.04, paragraph 1, and on the council approval in any projects, Avenue B, a cul-de-sac cannot have more than 100 meters length, and so the subdivision of La Forêt and Jacques will create a cul-de-sac of 284 meters and 315 meters respectively. Whereas the Regional Service Commission presented a report from the staff and recommend this request. Be it resolved that we accept like the request from Maison AML's Home Limited to extend La Forêt Street to a length of 284 meters and to extend Jack Street 357 meters to have a cul-de-sac as asked by the developer under the following condition: that any subsequent subdivision of the domaine procedure will not be approved without an agreement between the town of Shediac and the developer, Maison AML Homes Limited, for the development until Justin Street to complete the loop. Moved by Councillor Janice Cormier. Second. I think you earned your money on this one. Seconded by Councillor Sylvie Boudreau. Questions on the motion? If not, all of those in favor signify saying aye. Against nay. Motion carried. Brings us to 15.10, page 212. Councillor Emile. A land sale, Gallagher Street. Whereas the municipality received a request from Mr. Gilles Tivierge for the acquisition of a piece of land with the PID 009755599 and belonging to the city of Shediac, the town of Shediac, whereas the council recommend to offer this piece of land to the two adjacent owners, whereas the administration was mandated by the council during its regular meeting on April 26, 2020 to start the process to sell this land, and that recommendation be brought to the council, whereas the clerk sent a letter to the two adjacent owners, and those are interested to buy this piece of land, whereas the land that is proposed to be sold has a surface of 285 square meters and as indicated in Plan X Service NB. Whereas the administration see no future use for this land, whereas the administration analyzed the values of the neighboring lands and recommend that piece of land be sold at a cost of 273 per square meter, whereas the administration recommends the council to proceed with the sale of this sale to Mr. Gilles Tivierge to the amount of $525.52, and at Deborah Lynn Maxfield to the amount of $525.52, plus all the surveying and legal fees. Be it resolved that the council authorize the mayor and the municipal secretary to proceed to the signature of the agreement between the town of Shediac and Gilles Tivierge and Deborah Lynn Maxfield for the sale of this lot to the amount of $525.52 each, and that the buyers be responsible to pay like the fees for surveying and the legal fees, and be it further resolved, like the buyers will not benefit in the future for any municipal initiative concerning this property. Moved by Councilor O'Brien, seconded by Mr. Deputy Melly. Jean-Claude Bertin. No? I saw like you liked what was off. Question, all those in favor signify by saying aye, against nay. Motion carried. Next one, page 214. Temporary street closure, Bellevue Avenue. Councillor Sylvie, if you could please read it. Temporary street closure, Bellevue Avenue. Be it resolved that the municipal council of the town should approve like the closure, temporary closure of Bellevue Avenue between Weldon Street and Pleasant Street on the between September 17th and 18th from 6 o'clock to midnight. And myself, I have a question for Mr. Denis. So the event, can you explain like what will happen? Would require street closures proposed with the new festival like so Omar. So there's will be a show like so we propose to close this and to have a music show and work with the hotel also to have a bar and food service. It's a new activity we're starting with the Hotel Shediac Hotel with the Omar. It for September 17 and 18. It's not at the same time as the fall festival. The fall festival will be the first week of October. Thank you. Councillor Paul, question. Just to make sure, because the Weldon Street is adjacent also, it's a construction site, so to allow this, so we have to consider this like with the signage and the detour put in place, like. Councillor, I moved. Councillor Janet. It's an idea we're trying to create, like the terrace, also not the St. James Gate, just besides like the train station. We're trying to try something different. It's something we propose was to the Shediac Hotel. So the music group will be on the balcony. So the groups would do not pay like lobster fish. So they will be paying. They will be playing this weekend. Is it the part? No, they will be playing on the deck or the balcony of the Shediac Hotel. Any specific COVID disposition plan with this? We discuss it, but we will recommend, like with all the shows, like to have some sanitizer and suggest a mask, wearing mask. And for bubbles, no, it's not. Unless the situations it continues to get worse, we'll take additional precaution for now. But if public health allows us, Councillor Peter, you pressed your button. Same question, okay. Councillor Janet, so it's a show, a free show, right? Thank you. So, as said, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Against nay, motion carried. 15.12. Okay. So this one I designate Councillor Patricia Bourg-Chevalier. I don't know if you want. I have a question for. So we will be voting on a motion for the town hall. It's the same motion from the last meeting. So we had a proposal to made a proposition like to consult the population. We did not do it. It's something we can do. We had a motion like that was adopted unanimously from the board. So it was two separate motions. So the first one was the consultation. We mandated like to do the consultation, but so the consultation has not been done yet. So if you want to go forward with this project, there's still an opportunity to do public consultation on this project. And if you don't want to go forward, well, with unless you have another public consultation to do, like, so it will depend also on, because I understood like we would have a public consultation because some councillors got some comments on the project. Well, now we will not be able to assess like the input of the citizens if they agree and of not, because if we vote against this project this evening, well, we will never get the approval. Did you want to add something? Or Councillor Sylvie, just to add what Patricio was saying, with the public consultation, if it had happened, it was to get question and answer, like a Q&A period. We needed like some material, like to have the public consultation. And the summer went by, and the summers and all the people were left, so it did not happen. So since we we move it and seconded it, it was a motion. So I think we have one to do another motion to cancel it, even if it's temporarily until we do something else or whatever will happen, like after the award of the contract. So I think unless we delay it, the motion on the table. So I think one goes with the other. We should not put the horses before the carts. So it doesn't matter to me. Like it came out also in the in the it came out in the newspapers. We do a presentation, so we knew during the summer, like it was more difficult to do any consultation. It did not happen yet. So so the council is in the position. Do we the council can vote on this. We can do a consultation after, or we could decide to do the go ahead the consultation and vote after. And that's the two choices. If you see any other choices, well, just let me know. Councillor Janice, I move that we go forward with the contract award, and then we discuss a consultation after, because as we are uh, several discussion, there's a lot of questions we do not have, like for the consultation, like to meet for the consultation. Paul was asking a lot of questions. We would do what and how and when, and what the prices also we could have, and we do not have more concrete information to bring. So I move that if we go forward with the contract award like this evening, and that we will be discussing again the consultation the next time. That we cancel it, or is it a motion you want to put forward, or Councillor Janice Cormier is moving that we cancel like the contract award or the call for tenders? We have to vote like if we want to cancel it, we have to vote against. We want to vote under resolution. So if we want to continue with the construction, well, the possibility of construction, as we receive for information from our legal advisor, we vote for it. If we want to cancel the contract, well, we cancel like the call for tenders, so we have to vote against the motion. Is it clear? So in front of us, we would need to read it, and As you said, Mr. Uh, Executive Director, that's what, no. The other one was tabled, so it means the resolution, it's already on the table, so I will proceed as if like the motion is on the table, so we don't need a mover and second. Not the way I interpret it, so the way you did the resolution, because the resolution, you tabled it. So it had to be put back on the table, so what happened, like it's like what was in the first warehouse. I would still need this reading for this evening, and then we will vote. Either vote for to build or against for not to build. Essentially, that's what it is. Other questions? If not, I could ask Councillor Patricia to read. Even my name is there, doesn't matter, no. Contract award Town of Shigda TS 21-28299. Whereas during the regular meeting of June 28, 2021, it was proposed by Patricio Bourchevari and moved by Patricio Bourchevari and seconded by Germaine Galland that the council accept to put the table the motion for the contract award of TS 21-28299. Whereas the council received a legal advice concerning the call for tender and a report from the administration on the consultation with the province concerning like the call for tender process, be it resolved that the contract number TS-28299 for the construction of a town hall be given to the lowest bidder, either the company Bird Construction Group for the amount of 4,632,000 before HST. I shall move. Moved by Councillor Bourchevari and seconded by Councillor Germaine Galland. For this motion, any questions on the motion? Councillor Peter, it's just a comment. I read like the recommendations like we asked from our legal advisor and possibly laws so from being too, I think one side or the other. So I think it's the same. I'm okay like with the legal advice that was given. If we want to continue like we go forward. For this reason, I support this. Thank you. The only thing I understood in terms of lawsuit, if we sue, we could be sued by other bidders. So, but if we did not go forward with the project, we could be sued by the lowest bidder. So was one company versus the six others. So that's what I understood. Councillor Sylvie, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we, with our legal advisor, what he sent this morning, Councillor Bourchevari sent some questions to Mr. Bello. Were those questions answered? Just to be better informed, I think it's important to be well informed of this. Yes, there's question, and I sent also some question to Andre, and the answer from Mr. Degg. If the council do not want to build the town hall, and he recommends to cancel the call for tenders. If the council wants to build the town council, it would not recommend like to cancel. Is there a deadline to be sued by Bird? It's not common. Andre said maybe it could take maybe like a 2 year like a delay like before we could be sued. It would be like sued because of the loss of revenue, loss of profit lost, or for the lowest bidder. If we cancel the project, if we want to know like if they can if Bird can still sue us if we decide to consider, but Andre understands it's really hypothetical, so we not presume like in 1 year if the council decides to go forward with this one. Could forward could Bird sue us? Yes, it's possible because they have 2 years to do so. Let's say we come back in 1 year with the same project. Well, say I got the lowest bid. It's really hypothetical. we cannot presume, like, assume that the lowest bidder, how they will act. It's really hypothetical. So if birds decide to sue because they did a loss of profit, well, that's something we will know. And the last question, what would be the amounts or the expenses also for the bidders? It's really the cost, like, with the bids. If the council that's why I said in my report, it's important to state the reason why you cancel. So there's three reasons that can be for the public markets. The first one would be that there's no, like, bids that meets the expectations. Or in this case, it's not the case because the quote estimates was like 6 million, and all the bids were under 6 million. The other one, like the project, we decide in this case, like, is when the project we decide not to do the project, so the council can decide to reject. And the other one, if there's a clause in the call for tenders that allows, like, the council, like, to reject any proposal, it's standard. It's something that we have in all our project. So the council can decide to go forward or not. So this is the most valuable option for the council if they refuse. If you don't have any legal reason to support, it's really like in a zone where we never saw this this at the town, because we had a tender that meet all the criteria. Will Bert go further? Well, it's hard to. It's really hard to say what their intentions might be. It's really hypothetical. If there's some lawsuit, it would be for loss of profit probably, or the cost, because to prepare a tender, they would have some costs, like they whole they had some costs associated with that. So yeah, do we know the cost, like, to prepare, like, a bid, or which how much profit they would have made? We have no idea. As our legal advisor, we do have no idea what the profit would be for none of the tenders. Bird was the cheapest one. Maybe more profit for the ones who were higher. So Councilor Paulsa, our vote this evening has voted in June. So the information that came from the report from the professional administration to go forward this person. Just a question. I don't know who would answer that. So this evening we're voting for the information we had in June, like, with the amount of the lowest bidder at 4.6 millions. There was also, like, a delay, like, for certain numbers of days to honor this number. If we vote this evening and we go with the amount of 4.6 million, and the bidder do not honor like the 4.6 millions, what do we do then? So the contract is contract A, like, to go call for tender. So once you approve the tender, the lowest bidder, then it's a B contract. So this is like a negotiation. So that's where we negotiate this. But without the approval for contract A, we cannot go to contract B. So that's where we'll say, well, okay, we negotiate. It's in the Spitfire's mandate. They will have to see, like, the lowest bidder and say, well, we go forward with the construction. And we went over 4 days, and the negotiation starts. So, and then the final decision would be taken. If he stick to his price, well, if it increased, well, discussion we could have. But if it increased more than 4.6 million, does it go back to the council? All discussion, negotiation will go back. So in other words, this evening, it's not the final point. No, these are higher amounts. If it goes about, like, the second bidder, so that's all things like we have to get legal advice. And it was in Mr. Daigle's report. So if we want to go forward, for the contract B, so what would be the delay? Like what would be the reaction of the lowest bidder? So as soon as the council's decision with contract B, we go immediately to contract B. So the negotiation starts. So letter was sent to split fire. So we do not. We don't have any answers yet. So the number might be the same, or see if it's lower, if it's higher, or do we go forward? That's where we will need another meeting to establish for the changes. It will go back like to the council. Thanks for your patience on this file. So the amount is not determined. At least we'll go further to see if it's not certain. So the amount, yes, in contract A, it's short. In B, well, could it change it? Because we went over 30 days. So if it was within 30 days, we would be sure of the amounts. Thank you. Is it clear? As clear as it can be. It's a particular situation. So we have a motion on the table. As a motion, so we'll vote as who's voting for or against. So can I say for or against? Can I add something? Just yes, of course. It's an important decision, and I took note. I support the project. It's not because I work on the project, and it's not because I find it a great project, but I think whether the reasons we're saying we're for or against a project, there will not be no perfect project. There will not be any perfect town hall either, like the location, the color, everything around it. But I think I do not need to redo studies or cost analysis and this. To me, the number that was important was 4.6 million. I think mentioned last week. We we cannot buy this building and repair it, but all the money we already put on it, with 250,000 or 300,000, like 300,000, like it's still money we will not get back. It's money we'll have to reinvest if we change location, but the proposed building was not done, was in an angle, so it's made to adapt to the line. I support the project, but I think the 4.6 million we can go far with this amount over the next 20 years, and it's not only for myself or for the council. I think it's for all the taxpayers of the town of Shediac. I will support it, but we each have our reason. Or thank you, Mr. May. I'm against the project. I'm against because, like the first number, we will not go back in the past, but we discussed it many, many, many times with the former council and the new council, and some number we asked for, we were given some numbers that were not, we were not comparing apple with apple. So since last week, it would have been great, in my opinion, to have this before. I would be of the opinion to have the word I'm looking for. To have the due diligence for our citizens. It would be to show them, like we did a research, and that we were not able to do like either like to buy this building, to do some renovations, probably more than the 4.6 or more than 8 millions in that matter. But for now we have nothing like to base ourselves. So amongst us, we discuss. We had different conversation. It's not because I don't like the building, I don't like the location, but for now, I would like to be able to say to our citizens, we would like to build. It's better than buy and renovate. I want like the Q&A, if we would organize a presentation, not a consultation, a public presentation. There are a lot of questions that I have now, and I did not know I have, because some things I didn't know. We didn't have the information, so it's a good committee. A lot of work that was done. Maybe we should have been all the board too. I think later, like once the vote will be done, I think we will have other things that we will mandate the administration to do. If it's the wish of the board, I'm ready, like to do other to present a motion. I know we have something. We have a motion on the table and we have to vote. So that's what I have to say. And I'm comfortable with this. So, Councillor Germain. I have this project. This project is dear to my heart. I think it was probably the best decision that we made. I was elected by citizens as if we would be doing the best decision. I understand what you're saying, Sylvie, but I do not see that they spend $300,000 and $400,000 for other studies and some question. Maybe it's not the right location, so we have to buy like a lot elsewhere. We have to redo the tenders. There's other costs, so that no one will sell like a piece of land for $50,000. And the reason being, we went with this because it belonged to us. We did not to have to buy like a piece of land. We needed like a quick solution, so it was our. So this land already belonged to us. Was the best solution. So it's unfortunate we are here, and it's for we did not have more support, because at the end of the day it cost $300,000. Once we're done with the project, the taxpayers will be paying, and it will cost them more expensive as I would have done to buy this and renovate again. So it's sad. Thank you, Councillor Germain. So we have a motion on the table. I know like the opinions are divided, so what to be care who votes for or against to make sure. But for the resolution to accept the lowest bidder and to start the negotiation with the discussion. We vote for, not go in that sense essentially, and we will end like the call for tender. So they will cancel the call for tender, or you vote against. So that's easy as that. All those in favor say aye. 4. Councillor Paul, Peter, and Patricia. Against. 4. Councillor Sylvie Emile Janice and Deputy Mayor Jean-Claude. In the case of the mayor votes, I have a hard time to vote for a motion that do not rally all the council members. I vote against. So you give me the reason, because I need to include it like in the call for tender, the 3 options, like to give the reasons why the council is rejecting the project. I do not have in here, but to the 3rd option, that the council. If it's a no tender was like, and the goods of services are not required anymore, so that would be that one. So that's what you want a town hall, because I do not want to come back with the same project. If you rejected this, I don't think we will get back to with the same project for other reasons and any other reasons like I mentioned in the document. I think there was a clause also, the call for tender. We had to check like that the council can reject. So what we know, it's not A, B, or C, would be one or the other. So with Spitfire, it's a clause in their tenders, because I do not have them. Councillor Patricia and then Councillor Paul. I think it's very sad that we could not go forward, but that's okay. I will respect the decision, but I think our citizens should be informed. I don't know if we could maybe prepare a press release. Personally, I would like for my name to be mentioned that I voted for, and I would like for the project to move forward. And my second, I think it would have to prepare a committee, and I think the work has to start tomorrow morning to find a solution. So the interim solution adopted, it was to start a negotiation to rent. I will vote against renting this in this building. I said we should have a committee put in place like to go forward. If it's not this evening, at least next week or next month will be after discussion. Councillor Paul, it's the same thing for the committee. From what I see, like the committee will have to decide where. It's to redo to start from scratch by, yeah, we go back to the starting points. I would like to see all the costs also with all the reports. All the professionals who will be hired, and I would like to compare like the report with reports we had in March, April, May 2020, the cost for renting, the cost for building, the consultant cost, the location cost, the architect's cost. I would like to compare the two reports, what the tax payers paid. So yes, it's possible. And I have no appointment committees and nothing. I could not prove the results, so I need a motion for adjournment. Moved by Councillor Emile O'Brien. Only one. Thank you very much.